Would you like to come out and see us? Come break your heart and put it back again. Or would you like to answer the questions of what we're wrong with women and men? Do you think that you could ever put it on the line? Do you think that you could even spare the time?
One of my favorite things to do with students on a week-long trip is to think of words that shouldn't be words, or words that are the best words in the world, and words that shouldn't go together. And it usually becomes really outrageous, especially with a group of high school or college guys. But one of my favorite words of all time is the word uninhibited. I love that word. If I were to write a book, it'd probably have uninhibited as the title. And I think in wanting to sit down and share things that I've seen in students' lives and change that's taken place, it's kind of where I'd want to start, is to say, what happened to all of us? What happened to this uninhibited, freely loving people? As I've talked to students so much, what's holding us back? What makes us put up walls? What makes us not love people freely? And as I think all of us want to. And the story that always comes to mind is when my boys were small. I was watching the boys, and usually disaster happens when I watch the boys, and they were little. My younger son Blake, I noticed that he had opened the front door and kind of walked outside, so I went and peeked through the window, and I realized that he's out in the cul-de-sac standing with the mailman, talking to the mailman, and he's putting all the mail in there, and the mailman is majorly awkward. He is feeling very uncomfortable because Blake is got nothing on. He is free as a bird out there talking to the mailman. And I don't remember, he's 2 or 3, and it was real funny just to watch this mailman squirm, and he just continued to squirm, and Teresa comes walking up, and I'm like, she goes, go get him. I'm like, no, this is awesome. So we watched for a little longer, and finally I'm about to go out there, and Blake goes over and grabs the mailman's leg and gives him a massive hug. Because when I taught the boys when they were young, is anybody that came to the door, you would greet them, and you always hug them and tell them you love them. And this is what the boys would do when someone would come over. And so Blake's just doing what he was taught, and he was free as a bird, out there naked as a jaybird, hugging on the mailman. And that mailman just was like, I'm out. He was like getting in his car as quick as he could and drove off, and I'm laughing uncontrollably, and Blake comes in. And it does remind me of this whole idea of Jesus says, come to us like little children, and the freedom that you'll see in Scripture that when children are with Christ, but also just this idea of kind of what happened to me. I can think of experiences I had in high school when I was younger that made me back off and make me not love people as well as I'd like, and these walls that come up. And the truth is, we've all been hurt in different ways that have caused us not really to live the way that God has wanted us to, this freedom that God has called us to. But I think as we start to talk about how do we care for students, how do we care for people, and how do we teach people to live in the freedom that Christ has freed us from, the one that we're forgiven and that we are loved, and that should cause us this great response to go out and love people. How do we do that? For me, it starts with the account of Jesus in Luke, where Jesus talks about meeting the disciples the first time, and he goes out and he catches this huge, literally fills up 2 boats with fish. And it says this, it says, Jesus was standing in the lake. The people were crowded around him and listening to the word. He saw at the water's edge 2 boats left there by fishermen who were washing their nets. He got in one of the boats, the one belonging to Simon, and asked him to put out a little from shore. Then he sat down and he taught the people. So here's Simon listening to this man. And after that finished, he says, Simon, let's go fish. And he says, we've been fishing all night long. This is what they did for a living. And yet he says, let's go out. And they go out to fish, and he throws the net over the right side. And he catches so many fish that both boats begin to sink. And he calls his cousins. It begins to sink. And I would think at this point, Simon would say, this is my business partner. I mean, this is the greatest thing in the world. He caught this many fish. But Simon's reaction really doesn't even seem to fit the story unless you think about who we are and what we know about ourselves. And it says this, that Simon, in the midst of seeing the most spectacular thing he'd ever seen in his life, says, go away from me. He fell on his knees. He fell on his knees by Jesus and said, go away from me, Lord, I am a sinful man. For he knew all his companions were astonished at the fish they had taken. In this crazy moment where he realized that there's something different about this man, if he could do something like this with this much power, that he must be able to do. He might know everything about me, or he felt totally exposed. And his response to that was, get away from me. And I think that's our response many times, that we're like, get away from me. If you really knew everything about me, you wouldn't want to be with me. I don't know how many times students and people have told me, Brett, if you really knew everything and my thoughts and the way I've lived, you wouldn't really want to hang around me. And how painful that is to hear, but how true that feeling and that reality is in all of us. I would not want someone to hear all my thoughts or a videotape of all the things I've done. That would be mortifying. And yet, this is Jesus who knows all that. He's not surprising Jesus. And yet, Peter doesn't know this at this point. And what Jesus says at this time blows my mind. And I would probably have to tell you, it's the single favorite account of Jesus, an account in all the Bible for me. And this is why. He says to Simon, don't be afraid. From now on, you will fish for men. You will be a fisher of men. So he pulled their boats on the shore, left everything, and they followed him. I think in modern day terms, what this means to me is a multitude of things. Can you imagine hearing, let's go love people together? Hey guys, y'all want to go love some people with me? That's what he's speaking to them. He's speaking belief. I believe you're capable of loving other people. Let's go love people together. I see great things in you. I'm going to be with you, he's saying. Hey, come be with me and walk with me. You're not going to be alone anymore. I know who you are. I actually don't think you have to go clean up to be with me. Come be with me right now as you are. What an incredible thing for us to hear, because so many times I feel like, man, until I'm trained or I'm got everything cleaned up, I can't go to God, or I can't go do this because I'm not ready. And Jesus, on the first invitation, first meeting, says, Peter, let's go love people together. I'll take you as you are. You're going to make mistakes, but I'm here and I'm going to walk with you. And just the power of the belief and the hope, much less, hey, you have a purpose. I made you for a purpose, and we're going to be about goodness, and we're going to go care for people, and your life's going to matter. I think there's 400 other things he was saying to Peter at this point, but I don't think he could have said anything more spectacular or beautiful to him. And I think this takes us back to this purity of being uninhibited again. Wait, if I have someone that loves me no matter what, like my son knew that I loved him. He didn't know this world would hurt him. He understood that he was loved, and so he was hugging the mailman. And then I think that this is the purity and the beauty of what Jesus does at the cross, and what he's calling us to and saying to us, I believe in you. I love you and I care for you. Let's go love other people together. And I'll walk alongside of you as you learn to do that. But I love the spirit of an uninhibited, dropping everything and saying, I'm going to follow this man after this one encounter. Although it's very spectacular, it's amazing. Can you recall a time that you felt this sense of I'm loved, and that childlike kind of reality came back to you, or you felt uninhibited. You felt free and stopped worrying about yourself and loving other people. What does that bring to mind?
Summer. I mean, a lot of times I feel like, that week you have at summer camp or whatever where everything is just like kind of purposeful and you're just having so much fun and all that stuff. But I also, I guess my question would be like, why is that like so fleeting? Like how to, remain on that. It's like just sitting on a buck and bowl, and it doesn't seem like it should be for us.
Right. No, I think it's difficult. I think our minds aren't on Christ, though. I think this is where we so quickly drift. I can feel that way, and right now we can talk about it. I'm like, yes, I'm going to go be it. If no one loves me today, it doesn't matter. God loves me today.